politics ever feel boring? Like you get the stuffy old white guy in the blue suit with the red tie, and you just roll your eyes and feel like, man, I have seen this before and I am not interested. Well, the candidate I'm going to talk to today does not fit the stereotype. She is a dancer, a performer, a fire eater, and she's running for lieutenant governor of Nevada. I'm Rob Ryersey, the political director of Vote Common Good and a candidate for Congress in Arkansas's 3rd District. This is the Common Good Candidates podcast, and you are going to love BridgieNix Scheiner. Well, today we've got a very special guest on the Common Good Candidate podcast, BridgieNix Scheiner. Yeah, Scheiner, not Schneider. Scheiner, BridgieNix Scheiner, who's running for lieutenant governor of Nevada. And I have so many questions. I am so looking forward to this conversation. You are maybe one of the most unique candidates I've ever talked to. We got to start with your name. Where does BridgieNix come from?
So it's a short version of Bridget Nicole Scheiner. So for anyone out there who's like, what's your name going to be on the ballot? It will actually say Bridget and in quotations, my stage name, BridgieNix Scheiner.
Okay. So your stage name.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about who you are and what your story is.
Yeah, so I am a professional dancer first and foremost. Started with ballet, modern, tap, and jazz at age 2.5, pretty much as soon as I could walk. I've been dancing my whole life. I'm also a choreographer, and I just got, actually last week, accepted into the Choreographers Guild, which is really exciting. And I'm also a local filmmaker. I own my own production company, and I offer creative services that cater specifically to like dance scenes, whether it's video editing, directing an entire scene, bringing in multiple choreographers, things like that.
Wow. Anything we would know? Any productions that we would be familiar with?
So I work, most of us actually work both in film and TV as well as live entertainment and kind of bounce around depending what our agent offers us. And so most performers, dancers too, specifically, have an agent either in Atlanta. By the way, everyone, I'm sorry, this is my cat's tail down here.
I love it.
It's just like flicking around in my face.
Of course.
But we have agents in LA, Atlanta, or New York. And so a lot of the work I did before I moved to Vegas was mostly on camera. I've worked with Wiz Khalifa, Ariana Grande, Paula Abdul, Juicy J. Last year I did, this was such a fun project. I did an Apple commercial that Spike Jonze directed and Pedro Pascal was like the lead of.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun.
Excellent.
And yeah, Tanisha Scott was a choreographer, and it just was such like a positive and beautiful, fun experience. And then on the live entertainment end, I had actually moved out to Nevada 4 years ago for a new show called Awakening. It was at the Wynn. It was their newer show that replaced Le Rev, produced by Silent House, and lots of amazing choreographers worked on it. So,
okay, so your life sounds way too interesting for you to be involved in politics.
Not true.
Okay. Tell me how that's not true.
Well, a lot of dancers don't realize that being politically engaged actually has a huge relevance factor to how we get paid, how we do our taxes, whether or not we can unionize, whether it's a contract job, payroll job. And I don't know at what point I cared so much. Like, I swear I walked out of the womb this way just from birth. But my whole life, I've always been huge on just looking at a bigger picture and being like, this doesn't make sense. We're spending so much money in this avenue and it's like not really serving the people it's supposed to. But then this avenue over here is getting no funding and they really need it. And this could actually benefit everyone if these people got a little bit more money. So, student government as young as I think 12. And then I was a student ambassador for the US at 14. I went to Australia and got to kind of represent the United States and work over there for a summer. And then have always been hyper social. As a dancer, you have to go to summer dance intensives. You never take time off. You're always, always, always dancing, practicing, training. getting to know different companies. And I grew up mostly in the nonprofit world. So I learned a lot about that world. And then went to undergrad at, I'm not sure if you're familiar, it's called Point Park University. It's a conservatory of performing arts in Pittsburgh, but like, always bounces between number 1 through 5 for dance schools, like number 1 typically being Juilliard. So I think last year I got number 2 behind Juilliard, but huge dance school. Has, I think, one of the biggest complexes in the world. But
Nice.
same thing there. Was
Yeah.
very in charge of student government.
Okay, so how do you decide to run for lieutenant governor of Nevada?
Yeah, so specific to Nevada, outside of the normal things that a lieutenant governor does, and for any listeners out
And
there
we
who may
might need
not
to
know,
talk about that, what the normal
yeah,
things a lieutenant governor does, because I'm not sure anybody knows.
yeah, that's okay. For a long time I didn't either. It's not possible for us to know all the things, but unilaterally, a lieutenant governor cannot make policy. However, when the governor goes outside of the state anytime for anything, the lieutenant governor steps in and they do take on all the executive actions. They can veto bills, they can pass bills, and they'll take on all the regular duties. They also serve on the governor's cabinet, which, depending on what state you're in, is usually just about 3 to 5 people. And that's where you can really shape policy. So even though you're not the main decision maker, you advise the governor on a lot of things that need to be done across all realms. Now, we're also the tiebreaker vote over the Senate proceeding. So if it's 50-50, we make that final say. But the coolest part, and my main run for it, is in Nevada specifically, we oversee entertainment tourism. And it is the job of the
Oh,
lieutenant governor over anyone else to help revive entertainment tourism, its economy, job expansion, and bring in higher paying jobs.
yeah.
Which I don't know if for anyone who's watching this out there, Nevada is actually going through a really hard time. I mean, everyone is, of
Hmm.
course, but Nevada's main source of income is from tourism. And we have been devastated over the last year of both state and national foreign policies as well. Most of our money comes from outside of the US. And so within
Yeah.
that, they've been trying to pivot and attract more domestic tourists, but it's not entertainment producers, it's not entertainers, not hospitality workers in charge of the industry. And so that's really what my biggest push here is you need an entertainer to oversee its expansion because we know what's going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is super interesting. So the entertainment industry is huge in Nevada, primarily because of Las Vegas out in
Mhm,
you know and the the things President Trump has done to
mhm.
destabilize the US economy and introduce
Yep.
chaos into our relationships with neighbors and allies around the globe. Like one of the unintended consequences of that is that people just don't want to come to the US anymore. They're like,
Yeah.
uh, so there's people that are like, I have entertainment dollars to spend. I can go on vacation. I, I'd rather not go to the United States. Like
Yeah.
maybe Las Vegas is on my list of places I'd like to visit, but knock it down a few notches, and let's wait a little bit. And then so then domestically, you've got
Yep.
people who are like, the economy is totally uncertain. The price of everything has gone up, from housing to education to groceries, utilities, all of it. I don't have disposable income to go to Vegas. Like as fun as that sounds, now just isn't the time.
Right. Yeah.
So what do
We
you do? Like, how do you counteract the chaos and the destabilization that the Trump administration has brought to this industry?
Yeah, this is a really interesting time for Vegas because they have never had to try or think this hard about bringing
Mm,
money in. It has always
mm,
been built into the system from even when the mob ran it. It has been cheap, it's been affordable. It eventually got more and more expensive, but the reason it didn't impact actual income is because most of our money came from overseas. So they didn't really care if Americans could afford it. So that's why the prices kept raising and raising and raising. And they were long getting greedy way before 2025.
mhm.
2025, though, exactly what you said. For listeners out there who may not understand, Vegas is small, Nevada is small. We don't have a lot of exterior income. So, yes, of course, there are other lines of work, but But if entertainment tourism takes, it affects them. It's going to affect how many houses you sell. One third of Vegas's income comes from Canada.
Mm.
One third. And most of the state's income comes from Vegas. So really, Vegas is the pivotal economic point that if Vegas collapses, the state collapses. A lot, as we know, Canada is heavily on strike against the US. So we've lost a big chunk of our Canadian funding. Then from there, there's a lot of people who will be like, what is everyone saying? Vegas is dead. Like, there's people here. But foot traffic does not necessarily equal dollar amount.
Mm.
And what a lot of people forget is that gamblers, like high spending gamblers, typically drop minimums of $1 million bets minimum per each round. And that's something that like Americans can't fathom that. They're at most doing 25, maybe to $500 on the higher end. It is very rare that we're going to be generating the same kind of gaming money. So now we have to pivot, right? Because international policy is not changing anytime soon. I hope it does, but let's be realistic. What can we do within the state with the power that we have? And that goes to let's make it attractive for Americans again. And where we have financially lost the most money with domestic travelers is Gen Z and millennials. And the majority of people running both the city and the state from a business, corporate, as well as legislative stance are mostly over 60, and none of them have ever
Old white
performed a day
guys.
in their life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot that we could do right now. People, a lot of like bachelorette parties come for 13 hours to watch, the chain smokers at Excess on a Saturday night. They fly in at 4 p.m. They fly out the next day at 8 a.m. They have one night of fun and that is it. And it's 8 girls sharing a room. And I think about even myself last summer. I took a trip to New York City. I was on limited funds. I made it work. I stayed in the city for 7 days. A lot of the things that other places offer, Vegas doesn't. We don't have public transportation. We don't have any affordable transportation. We also don't offer any kind of shuttles that go to and from the tourist destinations to the hotels or hotels to airports. We don't have a museum district. You can't use cannabis inside the hotels, and that's super popular for Gen Z. Denver has decriminalized mushrooms, and that is why Gen Z is popping off to visit there. And outside of that, affordability. That's the number one thing we know. We do have to offer affordability, but we also have to come up with creative ideas. Affordability alone is not going to make the city attractive. We have to make it fun again. We have to offer mid-tier music venues because Vegas actually gets skipped in a lot of mainstream events. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either, you're performing at the Sphere or nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah. Which,
Yep.
by the way, I had a chance a couple years ago to see you two at the Sphere, and
See, and I haven't even gone yet.
life changing. Yeah.
Most locals have not gone yet because the tickets are so high.
It was a Christmas present from my wife, and just absolutely amazing. It was actually my first time going to Vegas, and it was we had a lot of fun. It was a great time. So if you get elected lieutenant governor, and you're in charge of tourism and all of this, I'm just saying you got a friend, who would take Sphere tickets anytime.
Hey, I got you.
Okay, so what is it about your experience in the arts as a performer that, like, what are the specific insights that gives you into what the tourism needs are? Why does that give you, like, how does that give you a unique perspective from like a marketing professional?
Yeah, so even these shows are run by business people. Typically the shows are not even run by entertainers. And you can tell. I mean, I'm about to turn 36. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. It's amazing to me the budgets that are here for these shows and the mistakes that are made. And to the point where most of us who've been in the industry long time for a dancer, we're always just like, you spent how much on a pair of tights? You did what? And then, we also talk to people, but there's this level of authority where we're not always allowed to offer our opinions. We can't say what's not working. Our job is to show up, shut up, and just do what we're told and be as quiet as possible. With that comes a lot of injury. There's a lot of really bad decisions. We are not paid well. We are not paid industry standards, yet the budgets are the biggest in the world. That shows on stage. I think, a lot of the formulas are outdated, but you have these businessmen who will get in boardrooms and push so much money at consultants to be like, what's not working in our shows? Why are our employees getting injured so highly? Like, what's going on? And they won't come and talk to us. But it's also like, most of us don't just work in Vegas. We've worked in LA, Atlanta, New York. We've worked in nonprofit, for profit, on camera, non camera. We're not unionized within live entertainment, but we are unionized on film. So it's like we know the difference. And we, at this point, none of these shows are ever going to be long term, right? You can work for an oil company your whole life and you can retire with that company.
Yeah.
That's just not a thing in our industry. You can, I will say Vegas more than other places, you can work for years and years and years. It's very rare, but eventually there's an end and you're back to freelance. And so we also get a lot of FaceTime with tourists. So I'm also a fire performer. I like play with fire, eat
Yeah,
fire.
we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Um, but with that, like you're interacting and engaging with
Mm,
new guests every night. And even a week ago, I was hired to work Lunar New Year for, I was at Aria, but it was all the MGM Grand properties. And to be invited to that, I think you had to have lost at least $1 million on a bet just to be invited to the party.
mm,
And you get face to face time with these people. They want to take pictures with you. They talk to you. They think we're fascinating. So they'll talk to us.
yeah.
And even at this party with some of the richest people in the world, I'm looking at them and I'm like, their kids are here. This wasn't a kids event, but there's
Mm,
no childcare built into these casinos. And for the
mm,
longest time, it's just like you left your child at home. Even with the wealthiest of people, people are not going to pay for a babysitter for a week, and not everyone has family built into wherever they're from. So, childcare is something that's very important for both workers and for tourists. And I
mm,
think there needs to be like full on child events, whether it's a summer camp, whether it's something that the kid can go to and have the same amount of like, yeah, mom and dad, Vegas was awesome. And then the parents can do their own thing. Cause I'm like, if the richest people can't even get babysitters to go to their events, that's preventing so many people from choosing Vegas over New York and other places.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we get
let's talk about the politics of this. Um,
mhm,
Not every state elects their lieutenant governor. You know, it's
mhm,
the lieutenant governor is like the state equivalent of the vice president. In many states, the gubernatorial candidate picks their running mate that they run with, and they're
mm,
elected as a ticket, like we do with president and vice president. Some
yes.
states, mine, Arkansas, yours, Nevada, um, and a few others, actually elect the governor and the lieutenant governor separately. Um,
Mhm.
so, I mean, talk to us about the politics of this. Do you have a primary? I think the filing deadline's next week. Like, how or do you know what the race looks like yet? Like, do you have a sense of what the politics of all of this is?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because it's very easy to run. I don't have to get any signatures, which you
Wow.
would think would make the amount of candidates super large, but it doesn't. And that was a big part of also why I was like, is it easier to run for lieutenant governor than it is for state assembly? Because that's wild.
Yeah.
Um, right now, it's just we have primaries June 9th. And in the Democratic primary so far, it's just me and one other person. But like you said, official filing just begun yesterday. So anyone who has declared filing meant they raised some amount of money in 2025. So there could be some new names popping up, but in the 2022 midterms, 4 women ran, one trans woman, and that was it for the Democratic primary for lieutenant governor. And so right now it's between me and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, so I apologize if it's incorrect. But Sandra Jaraguay. But yeah, we're the two so far running for the Democratic primary, which I think is really cool and empowering just to see women supporting women and just to have like two badass women both running. I think that's already really cool for Nevada.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about being a badass woman. You have the most interesting political website I have ever been on. I work in politics. I talk to candidates all the time. I visit so many political websites, and yours has you like fire dancing and eating fire on it. Like, tell us about your website and how this goes over, because you're not coming across as the typical stuffy politician.
Right. Um, it's important to me. You know, there's a lot of reasons I'm running. Of course, in a perfect world, I want to win, right? But winning to me is a lot of things. I'm already getting legislation done. I'm working on an entertainment bill of rights with two state assembly right now. Even though our film bill died and there's no chance of like Sony coming back, there will eventually be someone who wants to build film infrastructure. So in the meantime, I'm laying out education for our state legislators of how the film industry works, because there was a lot of kind of propaganda misinformation last year. But something that I think on a bigger scale, I mean, I love civic engagement. I love politics. I love economics. But I've also for a long time been like, why is the Democratic Party so unpopular? I'm engaged, but so many of my friends are like, I'm not voting. I'm not voting. And that was a push for me. Performers and artists and entertainers don't vote in Nevada in a way that throughout the rest of the country they do. And it
Mm.
doesn't matter if you're red, blue, purple, they are very engaged. Vegas was the first place where like they don't vote. And I'm like, we're the only labor sector that's fully marginalized. Like, we have less straight cis white men than anyone else. And that's kind of the reverse of most places. And I'm like, why are you guys not voting? Like, the way we get paid, the fact that we can't write off our agency fees anymore, all of this is out of someone that won an election.
Mm.
And you hear a lot of things, but for the one thing that I'm hearing is no one is authentic, no one is relatable, no one has a personality, and they feel like a lot of Democrats are robots. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't vote. Like in theory, I'm like, that's not going to help us.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I'm me, I'm into it. This is fun for me. This is not fun for other people. So
Yeah.
I really, over the last year, have been studying Nevada politics heavily and what's not working here. And there's such a huge divide
Yeah.
between our state lawmakers and the actual industries that build this
Yeah.
state. So I'm
Come,
trying to
yeah.
like reinstill
It's
faith.
it's come for the fire eating, stay for the really heavy policy discussion. I I
Exactly.
love it. I absolutely love it. So, BridgieNix, we ask voters at Vote Common Good, we ask voters to use the common good as their voting criteria. And we ask
Mhm,
people that are running for office that if they get elected, if they'll use the common good as their governing criteria. It's not
mhm.
a it's not a policy platform. It's more a shared set of values. So, you're a candidate for common good, which we absolutely love. Is there, like, when you hear the phrase common good, when you think about how that would impact your role as lieutenant governor, like what comes to mind? What resonates with you?
We need better education. We've definitely. I don't have kids, so again, this is what I'm hearing from the masses. Though Nevada does rank pretty low. They changed their model 8 years ago, and it took a lot of work, but it was a per pupil model, but it's not resource based. And they also do quarterly budget analysis, which means it can change multiple times throughout the year. So we need something that's more sustainable. We need way more support for our families in education. Everyone's so focused on tourism, which rightfully so, economically speaking, but we forget that people also have to live here full time. And I also understand not everyone is like me. So when I say common good, like people in rural parts of Nevada need access to hospitals. They need education too. They need jobs that aren't entertainment, right? They need infrastructure jobs. They need building jobs. They need construction jobs. And so one of my favorite things is communicating with people that aren't like me, that I know nothing about. I know nothing about their worlds. And I want everyone to win. I do. And it's possible. I think this idea where one group has to lose for other people to win is dead. It's done. And it is time that we all start kind of coming together as a community and uniting. So it's really important to me for healthcare and education too.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Hey, so if folks want to find you, they want to follow along, they say, listen, I have never supported a fire eating dancer as a lieutenant governor candidate before, and I'm here for it. How can they find you? What can they do? How can they be a part? How can they support you? Where is all of that stuff?
Yep. So as you're showing right now, BridgieNix, BridgieNix, the number four, Nevada, spelled out, BridgieNixForNevada.com. That's my website. My email is on there. You can also, same Instagram handle, BridgieNixForNevada. And I respond to my emails pretty quickly, same day. And then Instagrams, I'll usually respond within the same hour. So if you want me quicker, actually go to my DMs. Within my Instagram, I have donation link, website, podcast interviews, anything. I am going all grassroots with my donations, so I'm not taking corporate funding. I'm not taking corporate interest funding, large PACs, which is also tough. But with that, even if people have dollars to donate, know that it really does help. So I appreciate anything or even a link share.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, BridgieNix, I have so enjoyed this. I've got to admit, I have never cared who the Lieutenant Governor of Nevada is,
Yeah.
but now I do. Now I feel like okay,
Yeah.
we've got a an interest in this, and boy, we're going to be rooting for you, and all the best to you. Thank you for sharing a little bit of time with us today, and good luck in
Thank
becoming the next
you.
Lieutenant Governor of Nevada.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me.